vengeance. I am the Knight. I am Batman!
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast with PJ and Mike. Now find yourself a seat at their table.
Hey kids, I'm Mike,
I'm PJ.
and today we'll be reviewing the new animated series, Batman Caped Crusader, from Amazon Prime Video. And we're also going to discuss the classic Batman animated series from the 90s. So, PJ, I'm excited. There was actually a ton of promotion for this show. I felt like,
No, it kind of snuck up on us. The
Yeah.
history of this show, I don't know if you're familiar with it, was right after the Batman came out, the movie.
Mhm.
They started talking about this show because Matt Reeves did this show. He's the creator of the show. It was supposed to be on HBO Max or whatever the fuck they call that.
Yes.
And then they decided they didn't want to move forward with the show. And they said, we're going to just cancel this and we're not going to do the cartoon. But I guess they gave him the ability to shop it around if someone else
Yep.
wanted to produce it. And Amazon was like, we'll take a Batman cartoon. And that's how the show found a second life or a first life,
Yeah.
because it was originally going to get canceled until Amazon saved it. And I agree, there was not very much promotion for this. And I don't know why, but
Yeah.
I
And it's
almost
crazy
feel like if you
because
didn't know about it ahead of time, you weren't looking for the show.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I have HBO Max and it has all the Batman classic, animated
Yeah.
series on
Yep.
there, and then that's why I was thrown off because when I saw it, think, oh man, it's probably gonna be on there, and then I didn't even know, I didn't even realize we had Amazon Prime at my house. I think apparently if you have Amazon Prime, you get
Yeah, you
this.
get it. Yep.
Yeah, my wife has it, and I don't have so it was a pleasant surprise. But PJ, I would like to read this little, I guess, little synopsis that I got off basically Wikipedia, IMDb,
Okay.
just for the folks at home. So this
hmm
series is a neo-noir take on the Dark Knight's origin story, and it follows Bruce Wayne as he transforms into Batman after his family tragedy. So this series is like a young Batman.
Yes. I think we're
Who
like
kind of
year two Batman or something
Yep.
like that. Yeah.
Yep. So it's about him, Batman just kind of getting his feet wet. This series does take some creative liberties, such as the Penguin now being a woman. Her name is Oswalda Cobblepot, and we'll get
Yes.
into that later. But this series was created by Bruce Timm, which is the OG. Uh, he was the one who created the original Batman the animated series, and
hmm
this is directed by Christina uh, Sota. And the voice cast includes Hamish Linklater as Bruce Wayne, Batman, Christina Ricci as Catwoman, Jamie Chung as Harley Quinn, Dietrich uh, Bader as Harvey Dent, and other notable actors such as Minnie Driver, McKenna Grace, and Eric Morgan Stewart. So, PJ, just to kind of get things rolling, did you like the show?
I loved it.
It's 10 episodes. Yeah, I
I
really enjoyed
absolutely
it.
loved
I
it.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Um, there's a lot in this show to really just like sit back and enjoy. Like the writing is top notch writing. The animation is super clean. The
Yep.
characterization, all of that is great. The storytelling. I mean, there's not a lot to dislike about the show.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, do I think it's better than the original? No.
No, no.
But it's still a very good show. That definitely worth watching. And yeah, we're just gonna kind of go down, folks. We're gonna talk about the positives, and there are some negatives. I didn't have some things I didn't like about the show. I didn't love, but it's really good. Like once I basically binge watched the whole
Me too.
series
Yeah.
in like 2 days. So they watched like
It's an easy watch. You could watch.
yeah,
It's really.
yeah.
It's not like super heavy where you like I watch one or two episodes. I need to watch something else. Or
hmm
it's super easy to watch that show. I'll probably wind up watching it a second time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think each episode is about 25 minutes,
hmm
so 5 minutes longer than the animated series because it's not on television, so it has
Right.
that liberty of,
Yep.
those extra 5 minutes, which would be commercials. um, but like I said, we're not going to do too many spoilers today. There's going to be some in terms of when we say some, where some of these you're already going to already know. If you put the episode on, it gives you the synopsis of the episode. It's already going to tell you already what it's about. But yeah, for me, just going with the positives, I think there is like a seamlessness. Like this kind of just has like the same vibe, same animation style. Um, like I said, this I think the one from the '90s kind of had this too, somewhat of an arcing story,
Yeah, yeah,
So this one definitely has it more, prevalent through it.
which I liked, which was one of the
Yeah,
things I really liked about it.
yeah. It made it stronger for sure.
Yep.
And like I said, this is a young Batman starting out. Definitely has more. It still has the that Art Deco Tim Burton vibe to
Hmm.
it, but it has more. It's more centered around the 90s, 1940s. So you're not going to see cell phones. You're not going to see any of that stuff. He still has his back communicator and all that, but like they use
But it's much
payphones in
more
it.
low tech than we're
Yes.
probably used to seeing with Batman. So over the last how many years now, Batman has been almost like James Bond in terms of all his
Yes.
technology that Alfred's creating in that cave for him, or Lucius Fox creates for him using the Wayne Tech money. You're used to seeing him do and use all of this new technology and all this shit. And in this, it's scaled back. It's like he's got a
Yeah.
batarang. He's
Yep.
That's what he's
hmm
got.
Yep. And I guess in terms of animation, the way his character looks, Batman, he's more slender, I guess you could say,
Hmm.
and he has more of the long ears,
Yes.
which is cool. I like how he looks. You
Even
know?
the gloves, it's not like it's the gloves with like the spikes on
Oh yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
on the gauntlet. It's just regular
Yes,
gloves that
that's
he's
it.
wearing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like PJ was saying, this animated series has more of the Matt Reeves vibe.
Hmm.
That's the guy who made the Batman with Robert Pattinson. And once I saw, I'm not gonna lie, PJ, I was a little nervous when I saw that because if you listen to our Batman episode 56, where we rank all the live action Batman films, I was not a fan of that film. So I gotta say, I really enjoyed uh this series.
Yeah.
I
I
don't think
almost
that.
wish the movie was this time period after watching the show. I think
Yes,
that would be a
yes,
great live action movie.
yep, I agree. Um, But yeah, like I said, I definitely think this show has more of a detective feeling, which is more
Hmm.
the Matt Reeves vibe. I think it's a little bit more mature. I mean, I think kids can watch this too, for sure. But
Yeah, it's not
I think,
completely over the top where they can't
mhm,
watch it, but if someone who's not a kid watches it, they might pick up
mhm.
on more nuances.
Yeah, it's a little bit more violent. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's not like the
Yeah,
blood.
Batman like beats the shit out of people in this
Yeah, and
cartoon.
there's some people get killed, people getting shot.
Yeah.
You see them like whoa. But it's nothing like an off the wall like anime or some kind of.
No.
It's not rated R. It's not rated R. Um, I think for the positives, and Peach, I'm curious for you. I think overall the voice acting was very good. Um,
Yes.
I think Hamish Linklater, he's the guy who plays um, Batman. I thought he did a great job. I think
I
he's going to be the new, like if he's been knighted, the new
Yeah.
voice
He'll
of
be
Batman.
a
I
good
think
choice. I
exactly.
feel like that guy had an uphill battle from day one
Oh yeah.
because you're
Mhm.
coming in, everyone everyone's going to compare you to Kevin Conroy. You're not going to be Kevin Conroy. I would say for the first, I don't know, maybe episode or two, I almost felt like he was trying his best to do his Kevin Conroy impression
Yep.
until he kind of found his own sort of voice. And once he kind of settled into that, I think it was better. Um, I don't know if you picked that up, but in the beginning,
Yeah.
I'm like, you just don't be Kevin Conroy because you can't be. Just be yourself. And he got into it and he
Right.
did much better.
I agree. I agree. Totally agree. I guess I'm going to jump around to my negatives. That's okay. I felt not so much. His performance is fine. I think it's more the director what they're telling them what to do. Or I guess when they're doing things in post. So he basically has his two voices, like Kevin Conroy. He has his Bruce Wayne voice, and then he has
And
his
his
Batman
Batman.
voice. Now I think in this version, and PJ, correct me if I'm wrong, his Batman voice is his natural speaking voice, and when he's Bruce Wayne, his voice is more,
That's
you know,
sort of the
tr-
impression that they give you.
right. And I think sometimes that just doesn't work for me because there's a scene where he's talking to Alfred and like he just came out of like a business meeting. I'm just kidding, and then he's in the car. And he's like, Alfred, we gotta get back to the back. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work. It's just imagine like Christian Bale is like, I'm Batman.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
and then he talks to,
so
Michael Caine's like, where are all the other drugs? We gotta find.
yeah,
It just wouldn't work. So I feel like when he's just because I felt in the original series when he was Bruce Wayne, and if he spoke. I think this is his natural speaking voice, and when he became Batman, he came. I think it makes sense to have more of a persona, right? But I think
well,
when he
the
got
thing about
Stern,
Batman
I think when
is
he got wait, I think when he got Stern as regular Bruce Wayne, his voice just got a little bit more intense. You know what I
right.
mean? I feel like this one was just kind of jarring when he had that gravelly voice, like in a suit. It just
Yeah.
didn't like a little jarring for me.
So the thing about Batman for me, right, and is Bruce Wayne is the mask. Batman is the real
Yes, no,
person.
I understand that. Yeah,
So like I think he probably should sound like Batman more than he sounds like Bruce Wayne. It's okay in this show because the voice is not so grating, right? Like it wouldn't, like you said, it would never work with like Christian Bale because he puts on that weird voice. And this, it would even work in Batman the animated series, with like Kevin Conroy, still a regular voice, just deeper. I'm okay with the Batman voice being the real voice. It would get incredibly frustrating if it was like the
yeah,
Ben
but you,
the Christian Bale voice the whole
right,
episode.
but don't you know what scene I'm talking about, right? When he was in
Yeah,
the limousine,
yeah.
don't you think that was a little like off? You
I
know,
yeah. I mean,
I mean, it didn't break the show for me. I just felt like
I like when
at
he's more
times I think
Batman than Bruce Wayne, so I really don't
right,
think he should use that Bruce Wayne voice much because that's the mask.
right. I think what you're saying in theory works, but I think in practice it doesn't. It didn't feel right for me seeing it. You know.
Right.
Even if it
Yeah,
is his true voice, I feel like
right.
keep talking to Alfred just look weird. It really
Right.
looked weird. It looked
Because we're
weird.
so used to him putting on a voice, I think, right? So we're so used to that being the dynamic that when you watch, you're like, "What is this guy doing? Why is he talking like this?"
Yeah, it
They
looked
they flipped it,
it
and
did
like it does come across as like, "What's happening right now?"
right.
But
It looked a
I
little weird.
appreciated it.
No,
Yeah,
I understand. Like I said, I
yeah,
totally appreciate. It. I just don't think it worked in the end. But yeah, I think most of the voice acting works. PJ, I really do.
yeah. They had a
Uh,
great cast. I mean, they had some real heavy hitters in there. Christina Ricci is Catwoman. I love the
yep,
Catwoman episode. I thought that
yep.
was
That
great.
was a great episode. Great
Um,
episode.
there was a few really good episodes. I thought the Clayface episode was
That's
fantastic.
one of the best. One of the best. I
And I
loved.
like that they went with the different Clayface. They didn't go with the big brown poo monster again. They went
Yeah,
with the original Clayface.
I hated that version. This was for folks. So basically, it's kind of keeping to I guess the traditional version of and where he's like I think the one of the TV, the original one,
Yeah,
he was an actor, but this it's more like his face just gets deformed. That's not really a
right.
spoiler. They already showed in the preview of the bullshit. Um, but I thought the episode was awesome,
Yeah, I thought that was
and
great.
yeah, the whole thing. You have what's her name, Detective Montoya, right, or
Hmm.
Police Officer Montoya. She was
Yeah,
that whole episode is firing all pistons. The thing I didn't love in terms of the voice acting is I didn't like the Penguin. I didn't like Minnie Driver. I think she performed well. I just don't think her voice matches
that
like the
that character.
aesthetic.
Like it
It's just
wasn't. I almost felt like it needed to be like a.
like an
I don't
older
want to
woman.
use the word
Right.
deeper. I don't want to use the word
Yes.
deeper, but
Yes.
more a more robust voice,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. You needed someone like a Kathy Bates or like what's that the villain in Matilda? Some kind of like
Yeah,
ratchety, like kind of like you said, like deeper. It just her voice is actually I don't know how old that woman. Maybe she's the same age as the penguin in the show. Maybe she's like in her 50s or some shit. I don't know how old Minnie Driver is, or late 40s, but her voice sounds very young, and that character
it
didn't
just doesn't
look.
look very. Yeah,
Yeah, for me, and that's the
yeah.
first episode of the series is the penguin episode. So
Which is
and
also like a shock if you're not expecting the penguin to be a woman.
mhm.
But I have a theory on that. I do have a bit of a theory. If you watch this show from beginning to end and you're familiar with Batman 66, you pick up a lot of Batman 66 references throughout the show.
Oh
They
yeah.
sprinkle in a lot. One of the characters in Batman 66 that was a villain was Ma Barker. That was I don't remember how many episodes the character was in, but I think it was a
Right.
few. And all of the henchmen for Ma Barker called her Ma. It was like
Oh, I
her
see.
kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think what they did was they made. I don't know if this was the sole reason they made her a female character in this or not, but I think once they realized it was a female character, they said this is our homage to Ma Barker from Batman 66.
Yeah, no, I liked her character overall, and that
Yeah,
was great. I think you're
I
on
didn't think it
point.
was bad. People
No,
were pissed on the internet that
yeah,
the
and
penguin was a
right,
woman. I'm like, whatever.
I
It is what it is.
right. I think she's the weakest of the I guess the gender swaps, race swaps, whatever out of this series. I just feel like just because she's really just like a cosplay of the penguin. I feel like if
Yeah.
she's gonna be a woman, she should uh like that should really be big part of that character, her being a woman. You know what I mean? Like being more feminine, being
Yeah, and they
because in
didn't
the
make her
shows,
look any different. I mean,
yeah,
it could have
exactly.
just been the male penguin. There was no
Yeah.
difference other than her voice. That was it.
Yeah. Um, like she has the monocle. I'm like, I don't know, just wasn't really. It's just like I said, just kind of felt like it just a.
And she didn't have that not an accent, but that
Yeah.
penguiny voice. You know how like
Yep.
Burgess Meredith in like the '66, the wah, 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 and even like Danny DeVito and like
Yeah.
they all of them have like they try to sound like what you would picture a penguin talking would sound like, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
felt
Yeah.
like she didn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And for some reason, when they announced her being it was gonna be a female, I don't know why I thought this. Maybe I just misread something somewhere. I thought originally Oswald was actually alive, like her husband,
Right.
and then he dies, and then she takes over,
Like, right.
his business. That's what I thought. And she's a new penguin, like she's still
Right.
taking over the. Man, obviously, that's not how it is, folks. She's
No,
just
she's just
right.
a penguin.
Mhm.
It
And she
was
has
fine. I didn't hate it. I
no.
didn't.
It
It
was
didn't ruin the
no.
episode of the
And
show for me.
yeah. She's barely even in that first
No,
episode.
yeah, she's really a small
She's
part.
not even in it. Um, but yeah, just with the other character swaps, just because we're on it, Mr. PJ, they switched out Commissioner Gordon and Barbara Gordon. They are now black.
I
Um,
assume he did that because in his movie he did the same
yep,
thing.
yeah, the Matt Reeves, yes, the
Yep.
Matt Reeves film. That was fine. I hadn't. That was,
Yeah, nothing there bothered me.
like we said, in terms of like character changes, like what they, I guess, different versions or bring them back to the original versions. Like PJ said, the Clayface, one of the best episodes.
Oh, it's great.
Ugh, awesome. And I also really love PJ Harley Quinn. How they
Really, that's my
yes,
one negative.
really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
couldn't get into that.
Okay. So folks, Harley Quinn now is Asian. It doesn't really that's just
Yeah,
aesthetically she
whatever.
is. But I guess when it comes to Harley Quinn now, PJ, I'm a little burnt out with Harley Quinn. I'm talking about the character itself. I feel like I love the original, the cartoon and the video game. She's a lot of fun. I just feel like now it's just been kind of, the whole.
Yeah.
It's like I'm exhausted. Obviously, Margot Robbie's very good looking and she plays the part well, but I just feel like it's just. I mean, it's just her. I don't know, just she's just draining me. I don't know what it is. She's just draining me, and who knows with this new Joker 2 film how they're gonna Lady Gaga's gonna do it. But for me, it was nice to see, in my opinion, Harley Quinn. This version, she plays a therapist,
Which is
well,
right. She's always a
right?
therapist.
Right, and when she's a therapist, that's when she's a little bit more bubbly, a little bit more, you know, she's not zany or anything, but a little just more bubbly. Then
Right.
when she puts on the costume, she's just more of like, I'll say like a bitch or just more stern and kind of
Right.
mean. So she's not like a cartoon, like whoa, like
Right. Like she doesn't like pull out a giant sledgehammer from
yeah,
behind her back
exactly,
and
none
all
of
that
that.
stuff.
It's
Yeah.
more
It's more
just like being,
cerebral of a character.
yes, exactly, and I like that. For me, it was fresh because I felt like I didn't feel like hearing, hey, how you doing, Mister? Yeah, just especially in
I
this kind of film. I don't this
yeah.
kind of show. I think
I
that
feel like
ruins might not work.
I felt like they should not have made that character Harley Quinn. Because I think that would have been fine. That whole character arc that they did for her, you could have just made that character Hugo Strange. And I
Yeah,
think
no, I know. Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I mean. Like
yeah.
I feel like they wanted to find a way to put Harley in this because she's so popular. And how can we do that
I,
without? I don't want to give too many spoilers away on certain things. How do we find a way to introduce her separate from her
right,
normal origin? And they just
right.
it didn't work for me. That's the one thing that didn't work for me.
Right. I think another thing. I think one of the negatives of this show is like I feel like they did certain things very quickly. Like I feel like wouldn't it have been interesting to see how she turns into Harley Quinn? Maybe that'll be
Hmm.
the season 2. They'll show you how she
Maybe.
turned into But I feel like certain things was a little rushed. And like I said, I'm gonna try to refrain from certain spoilers with certain characters. But I'm like, oh wow, like some I get. Like at the end, there's like a part 2 episode. It's a two-parter episode,
Right.
more or less. But I'm like, huh, I was surprised all of a sudden because she's all of a sudden you see her as Harley Quinn. I'm like, oh, well, I thought you could do. I thought more of the show was we saw everyone's origin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
So I'll tell you one of the things that I both simultaneously liked and disliked.
sure.
I thought it was cool that they dropped in quote unquote cameos of different characters. Like they mention Eel O'Brien on one episode, and Eel O'Brien is Plastic Man. They mention Detective Jimmy Corrigan, and Jim Corrigan is the Spectre. They mention these names of other characters, and it leads you to almost believe like, oh shit, by the time this season is over, I'm definitely
Mm,
gonna see the
right,
Spectre.
right,
I'm definitely gonna see
right.
Plastic Man, and then nothing ever actually comes from that.
Right.
So it's not. I get it. It's just like a fun little like fan servicey moment, an Easter egg. But if you're gonna do that, I don't know if they're ever gonna make another Justice League cartoon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you wanted to, and the last Justice League cartoon started with the Batman cartoon, right? So you
Right.
would
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
if they were gonna try that, you've taken some of these characters off the playing field by just dropping them in like this. And so I don't know if maybe they're never going to go that route and they know that already. And so they don't care. But for me, I was like, oh man, am I going to get to see the Spectre? And then you see other characters like the Gentleman Ghost is in one episode,
Yeah.
which, in the comic books, I generally like that character. I think it's fun when he shows up. I didn't feel like it worked. It
No
felt
way.
like a Scooby Doo episode to me,
Yes. Yes.
right? Like
This
that
like
was, I think, the weakest of the episodes.
yeah.
And I'm like, are we just gonna like? He would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for that pesky bat. Like
Right.
like it really felt like that was gonna be the ending of this episode. But I'm like, all right, if we're gonna have a gentleman ghost, is this one he's really gonna show up as the Spectre, and you'll have because he's a ghost, right? Maybe
Yeah.
that's why they introduced Jim Corrigan, and then they don't follow through with it. I'm like, so we had a ghost villain, and you introduced the Spectre's host, and we didn't do anything with it. Like
Yeah.
that kind of, I didn't like that.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I guess certain things of the show is like I said, they didn't, I'm surprised. Like either rushed things or they just kind of just fell
Yeah,
flat. And I guess we'll talk with that, PJ. Like for me, I'm not really into. I don't like when Batman fights any kind of supernatural things. I'm not into it. Even like uh Ra's al Ghul. I don't really like
right.
that. I like the movie. The Dark Knight. Batman Begins because he's just a regular dude, and maybe the legend of him kind of takes it over. But
Right.
I was never really into that stuff. I don't think they're bad. I think that character is well written, all that stuff. But I don't like when Batman fights anyone supernatural. So anyway, when he fights this ghost episode, I don't like it. There's another one where he basically fights Wednesday from the Adams
Oh
family,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Natalie Knight or something like that.
Who's also a real
Yeah,
character,
no, I
and
know
I
he's
thought
real character. I just don't think they
I
work.
had I had
Like
so many issues with that one episode
I
that
didn't like any of those supernatural ones at all.
I mean I think those two are the weakest. Look, you want to give me that episode where there's a kid that is essentially parasite, right? That's essentially
Yes.
the same
Yep.
sort of powers. I thought the worst part of that was I'm gonna spoil this one because I think it's worth talking about.
Yep.
The fact that they pigeonholed all those Robins and they shoehorned all
Yes.
those Robins into a
Yeah.
character, that means you'll
Yeah.
never see Robin on this show, really.
Yeah.
And they don't flat out, I don't know if they actually give last names, but you have one whose name was Dickie. You had one whose name was Jason. So you know it's Dick Grayson, you know it's Jason Todd. They didn't have Tim Drake because Tim Drake was not an orphan in the comics. Then
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
gave
Yeah.
you, I think, Carrie Kelly is one who's the one from The Dark Knight Returns, and she's in. And I'm like, again,
Mhm.
maybe they just know the show has a 2 to 3 season shelf life and it's over, and they're
Yeah.
not going to bother ever
Yes.
introducing Robin. So
Hmm.
maybe this was just their little thing.
True.
Like
True.
maybe
True.
they know that, but I don't know that,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I want to see Robin show up in this show. And
Yeah.
to me, like you kind of take them out of the equation. Again, the same thing like when you drop in an Eel O'Brien reference or something. Now you've taken Plastic Man out of the equation. Now you've taken the Robins out, and that kind
Hmm.
of stuff like at first you're like, oh shit, they're named after the Rob, and then you start to think about it, and you're like,
Yeah.
you've taken away the opportunity for a good story. I would have liked to have seen how they introduced Dick Grayson, and now we probably won't.
Right. No. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think, um, like you said, these like just missed opportunities. I think another one is I love this episode. I don't know the name of it. It's when Onomatopoeia is in it.
Yes, I love
That
that villain.
episode. That episode was awesome.
Yes, great
How
villain in the comics, great villain on the
right.
TV show.
Right. And it's funny because when I was looking up just the name of the episodes and some of the characters' names and all that stuff, I saw a quote from Kevin Smith, not about the show, but he just said that in terms of onomatopoeia, is like, I don't know if that character would work on film, because I think because basically, folks at home, when this villain speaks, he just uses like certain words. So
Right,
like, so if a gun goes off,
it's
if he
blam.
shoots his own, he's gonna say, bang, if he
Right,
punches someone, pow, So in the show, when he's basically um after was it Commissioner Barbara Gordon? I think he's
Yeah.
after in the episode, and
Yep.
he's basically he's gonna he obviously matches he has a one-on-one with Batman, so when he punches him, he says like kablam and all that
Yeah.
stuff. I just for me, I like the character. I didn't really love when those. I just felt like what they should have done with him. Like I said, it didn't ruin the character. I just think it would have been better if he just said few words, like few sentences, and then when he got pissed off, then he used, you know, those onomatopoeias.
Right.
But it didn't
I
ruin it. But I just felt they could have made his character even more intense if he would
So
be
Kevin
like
Smith
an
actually
Anton
created that
Chigurh
character.
kind of thing. Who?
So
I'm
Kevin
sorry.
Kevin Smith created the character of Hush, and he created him in the Green Arrow comic book. This
Mhm,
has got to be. We were in high school, I think, when this happened, if I
mhm,
remember correctly, because I bought these books walking home from school. So yeah, so we're talking early 2000s, right?
mhm.
Late 90s, early
Yeah,
2000s. This character is created, um, and it was created, and it kind of read as a goof a bit, but it works in the context of a character in a comic book because
yeah.
when he speaks in the comic books, he doesn't just say blam. It's the big pop, right? You know what I mean, of
Right.
color
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
everything, and it kind of works. It plays off, and I think that's why he was saying he didn't know how this character would work in a movie or a TV show, because it's very much like it works as a comic book on purpose, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It works in
and
that
so
medium.
so
Mhm.
I think the voice for the character maybe wasn't the right voice, and I agree with you. It's like there's you needed a little bit more out of him. And I
Yeah,
love the character
yeah.
in the comic books. I love the character in the show. He was in, I think he was in the new Superman, the live action Superman TV show on the CW. I
Oh, okay.
believe he was in that also, this character. But they almost made it a little more super villainy with like powers and stuff and not just saying the words, which kind of
Mhm.
made it a little bit better. I think for this show you couldn't really get any characterization out of this guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think you're right. Having some more words would have really helped. Even though it's
Yeah.
against the point of that character, I think it would have helped.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
this
yeah.
case.
It could
It
have made him
doesn't
even
ruin the episode. It's still a great, great episode.
oh, yeah.
But yeah,
Mhm.
you want to get to know this guy a little bit more. Even if like
Exactly.
they would have introduced him without the gimmick and the costume on,
Yes.
and then there's a reveal that it's actually this guy the whole time, and he only says the bang boom pow when he's in the mask, but otherwise
Yeah.
something like that would have worked. But I
Yeah,
agree,
totally.
they needed some more characterization to make him a little bit more something you could grab onto, but still one of the best episodes of the season, I
Oh,
think.
yeah. Mhm. Um I think some of the standout characters for me is uh Bullock and Flask,
Yep, they were
the
great.
two crooked cops.
Yep,
Oh man,
they were
those
great.
two.
You almost
I
want a whole
started
show
watching.
just on them.
Exactly. Yeah, you definitely could do a whole spin-off of them.
Oh yeah.
Like those two are just so good. I think the guy who does the voice of Bender from Futurama does it. He's
Yes.
Bullock,
Yep.
and the other I can't think of his name or what show, but you've seen him before. He does
Yeah,
a lot of
they're
movies.
both well-known guys doing the
Mhm.
voices of that.
Yo, the episode with Firefly with those two, and
Mhm.
they oh man, so
Yeah.
folks, slight spoilers. So in that episode, those two crooked cops, they're trying to lure out Batman. They want to catch Batman. Gotham City police want to catch Batman. So these two come up with an idea. Let's release one of the villains, which is Firefly. We'll kind of just put him in the back of the car with his equipment and just leave the car like, oh, we got to
Yeah.
get some donuts. Basically, they go anyway. Chaos ensues. But that whole episode, man, those two are great. I love those
Yeah.
guys. They're
They
like,
were
whenever
great.
they come on screen, I'm like, yes, because they're just so like, oh, like just like dirty and like
Yeah, I agree. They
stuff
were
and just
they were
they're
so
just
well written, so well performed. And
mhm.
it's like they don't take up a lot of time in the show. They're
No,
here
no.
for a couple of seconds here and there, but whenever they show up, it's a
Yeah,
great scene.
yeah. Like you're like, okay, how are these guys gonna like mess things up for everybody else? How are they
You
gonna
know what it
twist?
reminds me of a little bit? They kind of remind me of Bulk and Skull,
Yes, from
right? Because you're
Power
like
Rangers.
watching the Power Rangers, and then all of a sudden they have like their own little theme music, and they come out and they would do like
Mm,
something goofy, and you'd laugh, and then you'd go back to the show. That's what
yep.
they reminded me. They were like Bulk and Skull.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But that episode is awesome. Um, yeah, like you said, the standout episode I think is that one. Um, Catwoman episode is great. I think the Harley Quinn episode is good overall. And the
And the
last.
Clayface was just
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That one
for
to me is going to be
for
like that.
me, the
Out the
Clayface
definitive.
episode is this show's Heart of Ice.
Yes, you stole my thunder, PJ. Yes, yeah. Uh, uh. So, folks, when PJ says Heart of Ice, basically, that's like I guess you could say it's the new origin story of Mister Freeze. That's become the definitive story now
Right. And that was
for
from the original Batman the animated series.
yeah. So I
That
definitely
episode
agree.
won like an Oscar or an Emmy or whatever the fuck.
Yep. Correct, Emmy. I think I totally agree, PJ. That episode with Clayface. Please, hope it does
Yeah.
become the definitive version. Because like you
Yeah.
said, I was never into him. Like you said, what was it, Clay Poo Monster?
It's a giant brown poo
No,
monster.
I
Yeah.
love it. I'll never like that. I remember like when I used to have the toys as a kid. I never wanted that one.
And
Like
it
so was my
just
birthday. I was
doesn't
like,
work.
please don't give me that character. So thank God I never got that one.
And then every time he has to like beat that character, it's always some like we have
Yeah,
to just freeze the clay or whatever. And I don't
yeah,
know. Like this
yeah,
is just a dude
yeah.
who, manipulates his face or whatever, but he's not it's not so science fictiony.
Yes.
It's still grounded in reality.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
don't I find it more sinister
Yes.
this way.
Yes.
Definitely like a more sinister character this way. And that was a standout episode. I hope it becomes, like you said, the main version that everyone looks for with Clayface. I don't know if it'll win an Emmy the way Heart of Ice did, but
Yeah.
this is definitely their version of that, where they took a character and reinvented and made it great.
Yeah, for sure. And you just remind me, PJ. So I guess I want to go back to the more controversial things in terms of swaps. What did you think? I guess this is a spoiler, folks. Romantic. There's a romantic relationship that's budding between what was it, Montoya, right, and Harley Quinn, right? The lesbian. Is
Oh
it those
yeah, yeah.
two?
Well, in
Right.
the comic books, Renee Montoya is a lesbian. That's always been her character,
Wow.
Right.
and she was with her girlfriend is usually um, Bruce Wayne's. I think it's Bruce Wayne's cousin, Kathy Kane, who is also Batwoman.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So to me, that's fine because we know
Right.
Harley goes
Right.
every which way. She's
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
with Poison
Poison
Ivy.
Ivy. Yep.
We know, and I knew that Renee Montoya is a lesbian, so I think that's not a bad way to
Right.
introduce that character and give you a potentially a way to introduce Batwoman. So
Yeah.
I thought that was fine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I didn't have any, because so many people making a big deal out of it, like
Yeah,
I saw on
I
the
wasn't
internet,
sure why because that's
just
always been part of her character.
yeah.
So I wasn't sure why people got up
Right. I
all.
think which I can understand is when they set up people say, well, this takes place during the 1940s. Would that really be accepted? I'm like, well, I don't think it takes place during the 1940s, but I don't think it's that. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of show.
Right.
That
It's a
kind of
Batman cartoon. This isn't
yeah,
a
yeah.
political commentary or social commentary.
Right.
It's
It's not
Batman.
like exactly.
Like
So
it's fine. No one's expecting this show to like,
right.
you
Break
know,
new ground or anything. So
exactly. Like it's just Batman. At the end of the day, it's a dude with pointy ears punching guys in tights. So I think we're okay.
hmm I just have another thing on my list, PJ, that I was just kind of curious about. I think the animation is beautiful. It looks
Absolutely.
the only thing at times, PJ, I don't know if it's just me, maybe my brain's delayed. Didn't you feel like at certain points, like their mouth moved? Like it was something very like that one point. Like, I think it was one of the first two episodes. There's like a fire, and
Hmm.
she's like, "Get out of the place!" And her mouth is moving, but her eyes are like stuck, like static.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it was just a few moments of that where like if I felt like the face didn't match
Yeah.
like I don't know like I said I don't want to sound like I'm nitpicking here, but certain points I was like, that's weird.
Yeah. There was a few, and I wondered too. Like when I saw some of those things, I'm like, did the studio just start running out of time and they had to
Yeah,
rush a couple
exactly.
things?
Yeah.
And yeah, you pick up a few things like that, a few nuances like that throughout the series. Nothing so egregious where it ruins it, but yeah, there was a few spots of some rushed animation and things like that. But it didn't
Yeah.
ruin anything for
No,
me.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. Okay, so it wasn't just me with my brain. Okay. I
Sometimes
guess
I feel like with animation, it's hard to really convey emotions anyway,
yes.
unless
Yeah.
you got like Disney money and Disney animators on there
Yeah.
making like cats look like people. Like I don't know. Sometimes it just happens. I think.
Yeah. And I think like I said, I don't really want to spoil anything. I'm just kind of curious. Did you like how a certain huge character passed away? Like I said,
I'm
like you know what I'm talking about,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm not convinced that that certain character won't be back somehow anyway.
Right. I agree with you.
Yeah,
At the same time, though, I wouldn't be surprised if that really is the
yeah,
end of that character. I was just like I said earlier before, certain things I feel like they almost rushed. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa.
yeah,
Like, I don't know if, like I said, with season two, I'm assuming there's gonna be a season two that they're gonna do
yeah.
more
They've
of that.
already got a season 2 approved.
So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm not sure. It depending on how many seasons this show winds up going, I think we're gonna see that person again. If we don't, I don't think it was a bad ending for that
no,
that
no, I was
character.
just more surprised because this
Yeah,
character was, was good. Um,
in general, I feel like one of the things this show did that I liked was they stayed away from a lot of the bigger known characters. Like, yeah, they gave you the Penguin,
yep,
right? And that's fine. And they made some changes to it. But the Penguin and the one other character that we haven't really mentioned
right,
are the
hmm,
only real like big top
yeah,
tier Batman villains. Like,
yep,
spoiler alert, there's no Joker in
yep,
this
no
season.
Joker,
There's
yep,
no Riddler.
nope,
A
no
lot
Mister
of
Freeze,
no
none of
Mr.
that. Hmm.
They
No Poison
sort of
Ivy, none of that. Yep.
Poison
Hmm.
Ivy. They sort of give you Killer Croc.
Right, 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 right.
Sort of
Hmm.
do it in a way where you're like, we're never going to see this character again, so they just gave him the name.
Right.
But no Mad Hatters. Like, these are the heavy hitters on the original Batman the Animated Series who showed up over and over and over again. And I feel like that was done on purpose
Hmm. Yeah.
to try and differentiate between this and the original one. And I'm thinking season 2, you're gonna have a lot of new, like, not new, but new takes on those classic villains. Like, maybe we'll get a Scarecrow.
Yes. And
They like those villains are missing from this show, and I'm sure it was done on purpose. But
hmm,
I really am interested to see their take on what changes they'll
yeah.
make. But I think that was one of the best decisions they made, was not giving you, I don't want to say not giving you what you wanted, right? But in a
Right.
way, they were like, you know what? Everyone has a preconceived idea of who these people are. And if we come out the gate with the Joker and it doesn't live up to that, it's going to make the whole show a downer for people. Let's get them to understand what our vision is and then give them our versions of these bigger characters. I thought it was
Yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's funny you mentioned that because and maybe we could talk about it now. The classic animated
Yeah.
TV series, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and all that. One of the things I love about the original series, PJ, is like, yes, those classic great villains like you had, like I said, Joker and Penguin, all that jazz. But I actually like more of the episodes that people forget that are just really great. There's one that's called like there's a Batman in my basement, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
called, where
Yep.
like Batman basically gets like I think Scarecrow was I think Penguin beats him up and he's basically he crashes at some kids
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but it's really cute and I like all those episodes where like they're just simpler. There's another one where Bullock, there's someone stalking him, so he basically asks Batman to help him, and
Right.
Batman's kind of like, all right, let me help this guy out, someone's there. But there's so many little small episodes like
Yeah.
that where there's no big, huge villain, and they're so good. And like all these other episodes, rightfully so, get all the praise. And like, the Joker's Millions, I love that episode. What
Mm-hmm.
almost got him. I mean, these classic, Heart of Ice,
Yep.
but these other small ones are so good. There's
I
another one that I
forget the
really,
name of the episode, the one where he loses his memory
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
doesn't know who he is. But he has like the muscle memory of
Yes.
being Batman. I think that's a
Yeah.
great episode.
Hmm. There's another one where it's really more about Alfred, where Alfred goes to like
Yeah.
goes like this rejuvenation young spa.
Yeah.
It ends up being Poison Ivy, but it's like a cool, cute little episode. And it was nice to kind of see Alfred like because I've
Yeah.
been rewatching some of these because I have HBO Max. I'm like almost didn't even remember like
Half of
more
them.
than half
Yeah.
of these because you've seen on TV. It's always play the big hits like Joker's Millions, Joker's Wild,
Yep.
when it gets the casino and all that stuff. Um,
I love that episode. It's almost like the Island of Dr. Moreau.
yeah, yeah,
I like that episode. I
yeah.
mean, there are so many great episodes.
Mhm,
Now, let
mhm.
me ask you a question since we're talking about the original Batman the Animated Series now. Did you prefer the original animation or I think it changed around season 3, and it was almost a more sleek look to the animation. What did you prefer?
I I think it's the original version, the original, where like Joker really. I feel like they changed his face. It became more
Yeah.
black and whitish.
Yep.
I didn't really like that, and I think even Batman. I think they changed his chest
Yeah,
logo
it
or
was
something
all
like
didn't have
that.
like the yellow oval. He wasn't wearing blue anymore. In the
Yeah,
original one, he wears the blue and gray, and then it
I
becomes the
like
black
that.
and gray.
Yeah, but
I was just curious
particularly,
which
yeah,
animation style you like better. I think I like the designs of the characters better in the beginning, but the animation style better in the second half, if
I
that
know what you're
makes
saying.
sense.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I know there's always a big controversy about like the change in
Yeah.
animation style. Um, but I always kind of liked the second animation style. I just wish they would have kept the designs from
Mm-hmm.
the beginning.
Yeah. I always and look at watching some of those past episodes. I always never really loved how like I like Robin in those TV series,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I always feel like Batman was always rescuing him at times.
Always, like, that
Ugh,
motherfucker needed was like the
it was like
worst.
a little. After watching a couple, I'm like, it's almost a little frustrating. I'm like, okay, why did they even introduce this guy? You know what
If
I mean?
he's just
Like,
always gonna get in the
right,
way.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And one of
So,
the things, although I will say the guy who does the voice of that Robin is like iconic. When I read a
oh
comic
yeah,
book,
oh that's,
when
oh
I
yeah,
read a comic book, that's the voice of Robin, Dick
hmm
Grayson, Nightwing in my brain, and you know, Lauren Lester, I think his name is, or something like that. He is always the voice. That's always the voice I hear when I hear Robin, and I do like a lot of those Robin episodes. Robin's Reckoning, I think it's called. I think that's a two-parter.
right. I'm not sure
Um,
which one.
that's the one where he's like going after Rupert Thorne, not Rupert Thorne. I can't think of his. Holy shit, I can't think of his name. I'm drawing a blank. The guy who killed his parents, the gangster. I can't think of his name right now.
I don't. Yeah, I can't.
I I I can see the guy anyway, but he goes after him, and Batman thinks he's like gonna kill this guy, and he tries to like. Batman's like, "You got to sit this one out," and he takes the motorcycle and just leaves anyway. And then
Mhm.
right when you think Robin's about to kill him, he doesn't, and he just Batman sees that Robin made the right choice. No, that was a great episode.
Right.
Zuko, Tony Zuko,
Oh, yep.
that's his name.
Now it sounds familiar
Um,
for sure. Hmm.
yeah, I thought that was a great episode with Robin. There were a few really good episodes. There was a Ra's al Ghul episode with Robin that he had
Yeah.
a,
Hmm.
like he actually winds up saving Batman in that one. I think
Yeah.
he had his good moments, but when they first bring him out, you're like, this motherfucker is like gonna ruin. Someone's gonna
Yeah.
die because
Yeah.
they're too busy saving Robin
Right.
because he's
There's an
always in the way.
episode where um where I can't remember. They have to go. Someone makes their own like it's like Atlantis. It's like in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, yeah.
The guy builds a lot of like animatronics. You
Hmm.
know. Actually, I think the guy who does the voice of he makes there's another character who makes robots, and they go to him to find out where
Yeah,
this robot is made. Anyway, it's the guy from Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner,
yeah,
who made the
yep.
androids, which is pretty cool. So if anyone's a fan of Blade Runner, you'll hear the character. He ends up dying in Blade Runner. Uh, not the old guy with the glass. Can't think of his name. Um, anyway, Robin has to get saved in it because the whole place is like falling
Yeah.
apart. And but going back to some great episodes, PJ, I just want to I'm just curious, like hopefully they bring this, like you said, hopefully they bring some more obscure characters. But there's an episode called The Clock King.
I love the
Uh
Clock King.
and there's a great episode where like you see like his little origin story and like,
Yeah.
yo, that whole episode was great.
Yep.
Um it's so good. And like I said, there's so many those more simpler episodes where there's no big villains in them are so good. And I think they just get totally overshadowed because those other
Yeah.
episodes has these giant villains in them. But those small ones are just so good. Yeah, they're just oh man, they're just great. They're just really great.
There's one episode. It's a Riddler episode, and Riddler's only in like 2 or 3 episodes. And they said that was because it was too hard to come up with riddles to like fit
Mm,
them into the show, so they didn't use them that often. But I always remember this being the goofiest thing. They're in like a maze of some sort, solving these riddles, and at one point they're on like a flying gold hand, and I'm like, what is that? What is happening right now?
right.
And like that kind of stuff, like I don't know, it makes you laugh. But you go back and rewatch that episode, and you're like, yeah, I'll take a Clock King 100 times out of 100 times
Right.
instead of the Riddler having a flying gold hand.
Right. It's PJ, you just reminded me. Um hopefully you can remember. So there's one episode where I thought it was about the Riddler, but instead it was some other guy. I can't remember his name. He just had some regular name, but he was also one who was very good, I guess, with riddles too. And
Yeah, I
it
know
basically,
exactly what you're talking about.
basically at the end, basically this gangster says, "I want Batman's cowl," and
Yep.
so he hires this dude to get Batman's cowl, and at the end he ends up getting it. But and there's a little twist in it, folks. But it wasn't the Riddler, but the whole episode plays out like a
Is
Riddler
it like it would
episode.
be? Yeah, I can't think of
So
that guy's name. It's like,
it was just some
but
rando name,
yeah.
From what I mean, like I said, you know better than me, but
If I remember, I think it was someone from the comics. I just can't remember. I can't remember. It's gonna drive me nuts. Part of me
but it's a
wants to
good
say it was
episode.
Schoolmaster, but I don't remember if that's what it was.
Oh, maybe close. Maybe I think you might be right. But it was a
I
good episode, folks.
yeah.
It's actually a cool episode, like the little twist in it, and I love episodes like that where it's not about like, oh, we gotta rob something or we gotta kill. It's more like, I want you to get this thing, like from
Yeah.
Batman himself.
Yep.
It's a nice little twist there. But yeah, the original series, such a
You can't.
classic,
I mean, that show is just great.
and it's
I love the episode when they explain why Robin leaves Batman and becomes Nightwing.
oh,
That episode is
unbelievable.
just the best. And at the end of that, he kind of realizes Batman isn't that bad, and they don't really come back together again as Batman and Robin. He's Nightwing, he does his own thing, but they
Yep.
have more of like that mutual understanding because Batman did help the guy that he beat. Because the whole thing was Batman is looking to get a clue to find out. I don't know if the villain was the Joker, whoever the villain was, and he breaks into this henchman's apartment and he's beating the shit out of this guy in front of
Yeah.
his like little kid and his wife or whatever. And Robin's like, Batman, you got to stop. What are you doing? And he basically punches Batman and is like, I'm done. I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. You're out of your mind. And he leaves. And so they break up Batman and Robin. Robin goes his own way, becomes Nightwing. The design for Nightwing on Batman the animated series is great.
Right.
And then you know it comes back around, and you find at the end after Batman beats the shit out of that guy, he gets him a job as like a janitor or whatever in Wayne Enterprises, and Nightwing finds out, and he's like, "Oh man, Batman's a good guy after all," as if you didn't already know that. Like
Right.
if
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
homeless and this dude adopted you, and he didn't have to. I bet you knew he was a good guy this whole time. And that's kind of how they get back on the same page a little bit. But I love that episode.
hmm
I think that was really well written.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good one. No, you did a good job recapping that. Yeah. I guess my last thing I gotta say about the animated series is like, I mean, I guess obviously we know the Joker, like, Mark Hamill's version, but like I still to this day just love some of his quotes. Like this is one where like, I think it's called Joker's Millions, where he inherits money.
Yeah,
And then like there's one point where like he owes tax money. Like he never paid it. And like one of his henchmen's like, yo, you owe this much. And it's like he's like, I was like, I'll take Batman on, but the IRS, no. Like all that kind of like humor.
yeah,
And there's another one where he has like his own casino and he
yep.
plays like blackjack with or poker with Bruce Wayne. Like just so much funny shit, man. Like his character, man. He's even though he's super crazy, they gave him some of the best
They
lines. Like
really did.
just
He
so
was
funny.
great in that Batman Superman crossover when he was with Lex Luthor,
Oh
and
yeah,
just
yeah,
the two of them interacting was so great.
right.
Because that's what is that? Clancy Brown doing the voice of Lex Luthor, and he's
Right.
just so like stern and serious and deep
Mhm.
voice and he
Yeah.
has to deal with the Joker, and he just hates him.
Right. I think there's another one where he's auditioning new Harley Quinns and
Yes,
he's like getting turned off and he picks someone who's like really pretty and I think he calls her Harley Quinn too. He calls something so oh man. Oh god. There's another one like I forgot what happens, but it's like he's like on like ends up on like on a trash boat, like a going to like to the dump and he ends up I don't know. It's just so funny and oh my gosh. I think we talked about this I think in another episode, in the movie Mask of
oh, I love that
Phantasm.
movie.
And this I was spoiling this. I love this scene. I'm sorry, folks. Just watch it. But he's fighting Batman. They're basically getting like a I don't know, like in a
Like an
I don't
It's like
know.
an
I don't
old carnival or
yeah,
something.
they're at a carnival. I guess they're at the food court section. So like he's beating Batman and like There's two objects that he can hit Batman with. One is like a long piece of sausage, like sausage rings, or a bat, and of course he,
Picks
he
the son.
just he makes the sausage, and he's like bonk, And isn't there a Christmas episode too where he gives
There is a
Batman a
Christmas
present and he hits
episode,
him with
yeah.
just a pie, and that's it?
The whole Christmas episode is great. And he sings the Batman Smells version of Jingle
Yeah,
Bells in
yeah.
it.
I remember you and I talking about that in school because I remember we
Yeah.
saw it air the next day. You're like, yo, 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 and we were. I swear to God, I remember that. So,
That
ugh,
show and Mark Hamill really makes it work.
oh yeah,
He's just the best Joker you're ever gonna have. But even the funny moments are great, and then he can just on a dime become so sinister.
yes,
And you're like,
exactly.
Jesus, this guy is dark.
Oh man, it just makes it so much. It makes it so much fun to watch.
You ever
Exactly.
see the Return of the Joker, the Batman Beyond movie?
Is that when he has like I think it's Robin or one of the he's like
Yeah,
yeah that movie's awesome.
that
That
movie
that
is great, and
that
it's
movie's
so
great.
dark and sinister. He like
I think there's two.
kidnaps him. Yeah, he
Yeah, there's like two
kidnaps Tim
versions.
Drake and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just
yeah,
destroys that character's mind and like
yeah,
implants himself and into his mind or whatever, so he lives forever.
yeah.
Just there's some twisted stuff they've done with the Joker in that cartoon, and
Hmm.
it's like one moment he's dark, twisted, and evil, and then the next he's got you laughing.
Yeah,
It,
it's
the range of Mark Hamill.
yeah, yeah, and that must be that's such a fun character to write.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because you
you
just
could do
put
anything.
yeah, exactly. Like I said, you could just put some really great jokes, and we have someone like him who could perform it really well.
Yeah.
Just make it come alive. Oh my gosh. Um, but yeah, just to bring it back home, Mr. PJ, bring it back to the Batman Cape Crusader. Would you recommend it? What would you give it out of 10?
Oh, I would. So the original Batman the animated series is a
Right,
10 out of 10. Like
right.
there's no
No
question.
question.
10 out of
Hmm.
10. This show, I would give it a solid 8, 8.5 out of 10. I
Yep,
think it's
I
great.
agree.
If you don't watch it, you're missing out on something well worth watching.
Yep.
If you have Prime anyway, put that show on. You won't be disappointed. It's great.
Yep. No, I totally agree. I gave the same score. Honestly, like an 8, 8.5. If you really want to be like really nitpicking, there's some of the things we brought up, like maybe 7.5, but definitely worth watching. 100% definitely. Definitely I would love to see a new season.
Oh yeah.
I'm happy with overall with all the voice acting, especially the guy who plays Batman. He really Hamish, he really if he's going to be the new Batman,
He's a
he's
good
welcome.
pick.
Yep,
Yep.
exactly.
I
So,
mean, that show give if you're a comic book person, you catch all these references. Like I said, sometimes you get a little disappointed that they're not going to carry through with the character, but just the references they give you, you're like, oh shit, as a comic book person, I really enjoyed that. The storylines, the acting, the animation, it's good for all ages, but they don't talk down to you. It's not a children's show. Adults will like it
yes.
just as much as the
Hmm.
kids. Really
Right.
well done. I mean, HBO, Max, Warner Brothers, whatever, they are
Yep.
allergic to making money. Can you imagine turning this show down after watching it? Someone sat in Warner Brothers executive office, watched this show, and they were like, we're gonna pass. We don't want the what are
Odd,
they
man.
doing?
I don't know. Just very bizarre. Very bizarre. I don't. I just saw a video of someone they were doing like movies that big great movies that flopped, and like more than half of this person's list was all these Warner Brother films. Like whether it's
Yeah.
like not marketing, doing very odd marketing, or not choosing to do stuff like this. It was incredible how and this is from like 2000 till present.
They're
Very
run
odd.
terribly. They're
Very
just the worst run organization.
very
Like
odd.
you to turn down this cartoon
Right.
and like I don't know what that Batgirl movie looked like, but they had
I
Michael
just got
Keaton
my
in it.
head.
They had Michael Keaton in it. They had Brendan Fraser in it. It couldn't have been that bad. It
Right.
just
If
there's no way it could have been that bad.
exactly. If it's I didn't like I think I said on our and I encourage folks if you enjoyed this episode, check out episode 56 where we ranked the live action Batman films. I didn't see the entirety thing because I had to turn it off, but the Harley Quinn movie, I think it's called like Birds of Fury. I don't know, Birds
Birds of
of
Prey,
so that's
Harley
it.
Quinn, and
Yeah.
Harley
That
Quinn,
movie was I
the
couldn't get through it.
Emancipation of Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. Some long
Yeah.
ass title they gave that
Yes.
movie.
Terrible. I always get nervous when a movie has a long
Yeah,
title too. That's always a bad omen. Um but or a red flag. But yeah, that movie was terrible. But like you said, they released that, but they wouldn't release Batgirl. I
right.
mean, and unless it was that much worse than Harley Quinn. You know what I mean? Holy
I can't
smoke.
imagine.
Like you said, wouldn't you just want to just make, even if you make a quarter of your money back, at least let's
Yeah,
well,
I don't
not
know.
to pick this up. And you have Bruce Timm, the guy has a track record. I mean, unbelievable.
Exactly. I mean, and I know that you weren't a big fan of the Batman, right? I know you weren't a big
Yeah.
fan, but it was a
Mhm.
successful movie.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
That
yeah,
was a
yeah.
successful movie. So
Hmm.
you're coming off of a successful movie, and the guy who made that movie is
Yep.
making this cartoon, and he's working with the guy who made the most
Yeah.
successful Batman cartoon, maybe everyone's most favorite version of Batman ever. So you have two people who now have like a proven record of knowing what they're doing with Batman, and they make a cartoon, and you're like, nah, what are you doing?
I don't even know what to say, man. It's astounding. I don't know what to, I don't know what to say. I'm speechless. I really don't know what to say. My last two things, PJ, I'm sorry, I just started on my list. Just want to talk about was Alfred. Uh, in this show, I like him but don't love him. I wish he was
Yeah,
older. He looks a little bit too
yeah.
young.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought it was an interesting take, Fat Alfred. I don't know.
Fat Alfred sounds like
Fat
Fat
Alfred,
Alfred.
like
Yeah,
that's what he was. Like that's a weird
right.
design choice. They
Yeah,
didn't give him a whole heck of a lot to do. Alfred's usually more important to the story than he was in this.
yeah,
And
mhm,
Batman kind of a jerk to him in this until like
yeah,
the last episode.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think they're trying to
but
show, like, as we know, that this is,
yeah, I
young
know.
Batman.
Like
So I guess this is a younger, makes sense too. A younger
yeah,
Alfred. His hair isn't gray yet. I
yeah,
think it should have been at least salt and pepper grade,
yeah.
at least. And my last thing, PJ, was I love the car. I love the Batmobile
Yes,
on this. Oh
great
man,
Batmobile.
it's so
Yeah,
cool. It's really great.
yeah,
It has more of like a gangster kind of car look.
yeah.
It has some gadgets in it, but it's not
But
like
it's not overly gadgety.
yeah,
It's just like a souped up car with like maybe like a reinforced
yeah.
whatever so that doesn't get beat up too much,
Hmm.
like steel around it or whatever. But it was a good design.
Yep.
Everything about this show, I mean, design wise, was great.
Yep.
The character looks, all of that design wise was great.
Yep. But yeah, folks, check out this show. It's really great. It's like I said, me and PJ can't really recommend it enough. It's a lot of fun to watch. But we'll be here, same bad time, same bad channel. Yeah. Yeah, same time, same table.
Have a good one.
Boys and girls, lunchtime is over. For more information, visit their website at coolkidslunchtable.podbean.com. Follow the boys on all social media platforms. Just search Cool Kids Lunch Table Podcast. Now get to class before you get detention.